Hello, everyone. It's my Monday 5 at Live. So this is an exciting one for me because in just over 4 hours time, I've got my first group session too. So I'm going to be live twice tonight, once doing this one and then, first group session. Understand and overcome your anxiety. And I'm so excited to be able to deliver that training because I'm expecting people to get really great shifts in that. So if you haven't already joined that, hello, thanks for joining. So if you haven't already joined that group program, there are links in my feed. I'll put the link in here too. And first session tonight, understand and overcome your anxiety. It's going to be exciting. But anyway, we're not talking about that now. Now we are going to talk about the huge and really fun topic of how to handle your critics, your haters, other people's negative opinions of you, which really don't matter, but we all care so much about. And especially in the work that I do, here's what I find, and you'll know if you can relate to this or not. The problem is when you are, I've been over this quite a few times, you may or may not have heard it before. When you are in an abuse situation, when you are sexually abused, you are emotionally or physically abused, and you are in a situation of protecting yourself, you are vulnerable and you need to preserve yourself. So you do everything you can to be what the other person needs you to be. Now, obviously, we all know it doesn't work. They're abusers. They don't care how you are. You can't stop what they're doing. They're going to carry on regardless. But especially when this is going on as a child, and even then when you carry this pattern on into your adult life, what you do, you please. You become a giver. You know, you don't show up as who you are. You show up all the time as who you think they want you to be. And the problem is, I see this pattern all the time. It creates an underlying subconscious pattern of, if I do what this person wants, the abuse will stop. If I am what they want, they will be nicer. And then we get to the point where it becomes very, very important to you to be seen and to be liked and to think for yourself that you are doing the right thing for everyone else. So then when you get to the situation where you're not, when someone speaks out against you or they criticize you, what happens is you've set up this pattern in your subconscious where you are associating criticism or negative comments with abandonment in many cases, or emotional, verbal, physical, or sexual punishment. So you see, because this is what you've learned. You've learned that this criticism is followed. If you are not perfect, if you do something wrong, it's followed by some kind of punishment. And this is what you try to avoid. I actually worked with someone last week who couldn't work out why he would just get so stressed at the slightest criticism. And when we went back and looked at his past, as a child, the slightest criticism from anyone had brought about brutal physical punishment. And it was horrific. It really was. But there are many of you running these kind of patterns where you think that you have to be perfect. You don't think it in your logical mind. Logically, you can hear what I'm saying, but you have a subconscious pattern that tells you you need to be perfect, you need to be liked by everyone, and that criticism is a bad thing. Unfortunately, that's the pattern that you have. Here's the thing to understand about criticism. So criticism comes from two places, really. There's criticism and there's feedback, and they're two very different things. So feedback, let's deal with feedback, because feedback is nice. Feedback, it might not always be positive, okay? It might be telling you how you can improve things, whatever you're doing, how things could be done differently, how you could get a better result. But the thing with feedback is, it's designed to move you forward. It's designed to help you. It's different to criticism because it comes from a place of love and support. People might not always be the best at delivering it, but you know that underneath what they have at heart is your best interests, and that they're saying this to help you get a better result. Maybe they can see something that you don't see, perceive things in a way that you don't. Maybe someone else has told them something that you don't know. So that's feedback. And you know deep down, even though you might not like it, that feedback is there to help and support you. And it's a good thing, and it's worth taking on board. And you can kind of see that if you take on board what's been said, maybe you will get a better result. You know, this person is trying to help you. Let's move to criticism. Criticism is totally different. Criticism feels negative. And it feels negative not from the point of view that we all tend to immediately bristle a bit when anything about us is criticized, but it feels negative because you can't see the point. You can't see that the person has a good motive for what they're saying. If you stop and don't react so that you respond and you analyze what they've said and you try to look at and say, okay, what are they trying to achieve here? Criticism will have no positive purpose, and you will understand that at the base, at a grassroots level, the person is not really trying to help you. They're not trying to pick you up. They're actually trying to undermine you, and they're doing it. Here's the thing that you don't understand, and when you understand it, it changes it for you. So you can get upset about other people's criticism, but it will change for you when you realize that people who are criticizing and not giving you feedback are doing so because you've done something, or you are a person that has evoked that response in them. So in you, they see something that they need to respond to in a negative way. And responding in a negative way always comes from a negative place, okay? It comes from a place of jealousy, of envy, or from a feeling of their own lack. Now, anyone who is secure and strong in themselves doesn't need to bring someone else down. They don't need to demean them. They can pass an opinion, they can be helpful, they can give constructive feedback to help the person, not in a negative way, but from their own skills, their own knowledge, their own position of strength. From your own position of strength is when you give feedback. And it might be about something that can be improved, but it's done in a certain way. Criticism that seems to have no positive purpose, is done from a person's own sense of lack. There is something lacking in them. They don't like what you're doing, so they have to bring you down. Exactly. Yeah, great. I know that you like that. Absolutely. So when you can see the difference, and when you can hear that the person who's demeaning you, bringing you down, criticizing what you're doing, when you can say to yourself, well, you know, that you can look at the person and say, well, I really feel for you because I know that somehow you feel threatened by me. Somehow I've evoked this response in you. Well, that's good for me because it means that somehow I'm worthy of your time. Look at the time and energy you are giving to bring me down. Why do I elicit that response in you? You know, you must feel something about me, because we don't have to agree with everything that everyone does and says. We're not going to. But most of us aren't then going to immediately start pulling them down, demeaning them, writing things to them, showering things all over social media to drag them down. Most of us are just going to say, okay, well, I don't agree with that, but that's them, that's me. The people that don't agree with you aren't your people. Then, you know, you will always be right for the right people. And this is what I say. Let me give you an example in my own work. Now, you know that obviously in my work, it's very radical. You know, in terms of mental health, I continuously and consistently get huge shifts. Oh God, my dog's running up and down the fence, going nuts at another dog. It's all right though, he can't get out. Crazy. Talk about interrupt the training. Oh dear. Anyway, what a nutcase of a dog. He'll come in a minute because he knows he's done the wrong thing. Anyway, he's stopped. Oh, I'll talk about distraction. Oh my goodness. Yes. So in my work, okay. So you all know that I do, it's very radical. And probably every day I get someone who tells me I can't possibly do what I say I do. I get a psychiatrist or a psychologist or another therapist or a client. Let's say I get someone who's looking at my work and I'm trying to tell them about what I do, show them things I've done for other people. And they'll say to me, oh, that's absolutely impossible. I don't believe you. You should be ashamed of yourself for saying this stuff because my therapist has told me that this is impossible to overcome and I'll be on medication for the rest of my life. And they've written that in a Facebook group about me. This probably happens to me daily, but I don't care. I don't care. It's your loss. If you honestly, if you're so blinkered, so narrow-minded that you're going to react in that way because I'm challenging something that you've been told or because what I'm doing is a bit different to what you've been doing, it's your loss. And honestly, these things, they just go over my head. I wish people would listen because then I can't help them. But, I get the same from psychologists who tell me, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I remember recently I did a post and it was about a gambler. He'd been gambling for 12 years. And in one session, I stopped him gambling. Well, that was nearly a year ago now, and he's still not gambling. So I know that I did this. And I was sharing it with someone recently who was in a group saying about their gambling, and I was telling them what I did. And immediately a psychologist jumped in and started calling me all sorts of things, saying it was ridiculous, I couldn't do this, it was impossible. Again, you should be ashamed of yourself, giving people false hope. And I just went back to him and I just said, the interesting thing is that if I see a therapist, like when I saw Marissa Peer, okay, so I saw what Marissa Peer was doing. I saw her results and I thought, I have to train in what she's doing because I want to help people in that way. That was my reaction. I didn't jump on and go, oh, you're lying. How can you possibly do this? That's ridiculous. No, I followed her. I studied her. I looked at what she was doing. And then I invested heavily so that I could learn what she was doing. So when this psychologist was jumping off at me about that, I just very calmly, and this is what I'm saying about when you can either react and go in and say, you don't know me, what do you think you're saying, how dare you run me down? No, I just sat back and I responded rather than reacted. So it was a considered response. And I just said, this is the interesting difference between you and me. Obviously, you feel threatened by me, and I made that point. And I said, because if I see a therapist who can do something that I can't do, I want to learn from them. I assume that they have something to teach me, and I approach them and ask them how I can learn what they're doing. That was it. And I just said, it's interesting that you haven't done that. And you can apply this principle to people, whoever they are, if they're kind of friends, I put that in quotation marks, friends, family. If you're in business, you have haters. The only way to not get criticized, to not get people who don't like what you do, is to do nothing. Do nothing. If you do nothing, you say nothing, and if you are no one can criticize you. Otherwise, you are always going to have the people that need to criticize you, and they do it in a way, as we've said, there are the two ways. So be careful about how you look at it. Look at their motive. Look at where they're coming from. And if they're trying to demean you and bring you down, why do they have a need to do that? What is the lack within themselves that leads them to have to bring you down in that way, rather than to just accept that you have a different opinion, a different approach, a different way of doing things? Absolutely fine. Live and let live. We're all different. Some people can't do that, and they have to demean you and bring you down. And knowing that it comes from a lack within them is absolutely the best thing that you can do, that you can understand. And here's a really great thing. I think I've said this before. If you are in an emotionally abusive relationship, but you are physically safe, here's what you can try to do. Or you can do this with anyone who's trying to bring you down with criticism. Okay, so here's the important thing about any criticism or any advice. Firstly, you have to ask yourself these things about the person giving the advice or doing the criticism. Who are they? What do they know? What do they know about the subject? What do they know? What can they teach you? What right do they have to pass an opinion? How valid is their opinion? What do they know? And what have they done? So what have they achieved? What have they achieved along the lines of what you're talking about? Or what have they achieved in life in general? If Richard Branson makes a negative comment about my business, I'm probably going to listen. He's probably got something to teach me. That's what I'm saying. Who is it that is giving you the advice? Are they just talking for the sake of it? Or do they really know something? So think about that when anyone chips in on anything, or when you're asking people for advice, because often people, they're not looking at what's right for you. They're not commenting in a way where they're thinking about what's right for you. They're thinking about their own motives. They've got their own objectives, something they want to achieve for themselves from the advice that they give. Here's the other thing you can do. If you've got people in your life who are constantly criticizing you, bringing you down, and it is affecting you, number one, knowing that they're coming from a place of lack, I hope will help you. I hope it will help you to reassess and to look at what they're doing in a different way. But there are also a few things you can do to throw them off guard. So when someone makes a cutting comment, it's a bit like a joke. If someone says a joke and you don't get the punchline and you have to say to them, "What? Sorry, I don't get that. Can you say it again?" Everything's lost, as you know. No one wants to tell a joke twice. Same thing with these kind of comments. If someone says something cutting to you, pretend you didn't hear it. All right? If it's nasty and you know it's nasty and you want a minute, pretend you didn't hear it and just say to them, "Well, sorry, what did you say?" You will find it has exactly the same effect as asking someone to tell a joke twice. They don't know what to do because they were expecting to hurt you, to bring you down, you to crumple, you to be offended, you to react in a certain way. And they're already gathering their next attack. Believe me, they're like an army. They've thrown an arrow. They're ready to catch the one that comes back. And when you say to them, "Oh, sorry, what did you say?" They don't know what to do. You really throw them off guard. This is an absolutely brilliant one. The other thing you can do is you can kind of look a bit puzzled and say, "Oh, why would you say that to me? Why would you say that?" See, here you're questioning their motive. If you know they've come from a negative motivation and you're actually asking them, "Why did you say that?" Well, they've got to come up with something or admit that this has a negative root, So that really throws them as well. And the other one you can actually ask them is, you can say to them, "Why did you just say that? How were you trying to make me feel? Or how did you expect me to feel?" Okay, so these are all really, really good ways of countering people's negativity. But really, the important thing to remember is that they don't matter. It doesn't matter who they are. The people that love you, care about you, and support you will give you constructive feedback. They will be coming from a place of love and support. Okay, the right people. Remember, it comes back to you will always be right for the right people. All right. And it's only the people that are coming from a negative place that will give you damaging, negative criticism that feels nasty. In which case, you're entitled to just ignore it and say, okay, you're just not my people. That's fine. I don't, I can't please everyone. I don't need to please everyone. You don't need everyone to love you and like you. It's never going to happen. You can't do it. You can't achieve perfection for everyone. Some people love my stuff. Some people love what I do. There are other people who wish I would shut up and never say another word. And it's okay. I'm not here for them. They can have that opinion. It doesn't matter. They can just not tune in. They can go and listen to someone else. But for the people that love what I share and that it benefits them and they enjoy it and everything else, that's who I'm here for. And those are the only people whose opinions I care about. And if you can try and get that into your life, I'm not even saying that they're the people who always agree with me. They don't always agree with me. You can make, I get people on my feed who will make a comment and they don't agree with what I've said. And that's fine. It's just interesting dialogue, but they still appreciate what I'm doing. I get some people who say, oh, hypnosis isn't for me, but I love how you're helping people. We don't all have to agree. It doesn't all have to be, but it's not nasty. I know that it comes from a place that maybe they're trying to start a positive conversation, or they're just letting me know that they like part of my work but not another part, or they love one video but this particular one wasn't for them. It doesn't matter. It's fine. In general, they're my people. I don't have to be perfect for them. We don't have to agree all the time. So I really hope that helps you to put into perspective other people's opinions of you and their criticism. As long as you approve of you, you are the person that has to approve of you and love yourself first. Okay? As long as you know that what you are doing out in the world, and as long as you're not out there holding up banks, robbing, stealing, doing everything that society generally accepts as morally wrong. If you are in general a good person out in the world, showing up, trying to be the best version of you, generally being kind, helpful, good, and are more positive than negative, then really you have nothing to worry about, and other people's negative opinions of you are unimportant and irrelevant. You need to approve of you. And here's a couple of, I've actually got a couple of mantras that might help. I'm not sure if I've been through these before. Okay, so there's a couple of mantras that might help you around that. So there's a couple that I use in my daily life just to really keep me on track. And one of them is to never be disappointed in the way that I have treated other people. Now, I'm not saying that I always manage it. Sometimes I am disappointed in myself, but it's how I try. Is how I try to be. Okay, so that's one of them. And the other one that I use is to leave everyone that I encounter with a feeling of increase. And it's just about trying to impart something positive to everyone, whether it's the girl at the checkout, whether it's the waiter in the restaurant, whether it's the guy that cuts me up at the lights. Just try to impart something positive to everyone. And if you are living your life along those lines, they're my values and boundaries. They don't have to be yours. Yours will be different, but those are mine. And I know that as long as I'm kind of living my life in that way, my daily life, that's kind of the standard that I've set myself. And I can approve of myself while I'm doing that. And if other people don't, that's up to them. And it really doesn't matter. Because I know that on the whole, I'm okay. I'm a good person most of the time. And as long as I can see myself in that way and know that it's true, that's really all that matters. And it's all that matters to you about you as well, or it's all that should. So try to get yourself to that place. And I hope this training will help you get there. Thank you very much for joining. I love it when I see people on here. I'm sorry I'm useless without my glasses. I can't see who's on or anything, but as always, leave me your comments and I will answer.